channelafrica.co.za. Weekdays from 6 till 7 p.m. Central African Time.
It is exactly 6:43 Central African Time. Thank you to Chanduko Legege and Figile Lingwati. Good news for the African continent is that the African Peer Review Mechanism, which is an African Union-backed initiative, is set to launch a continent-wide credit ratings agency in October of this year. This has been spoken about over a long period of time, but now we actually have a month, an actual launch month for a continent-wide credit ratings agency domiciled in Africa for the African continent. Paul Sigazwe, who is technical advisor on debt to the African Union Commission, says that the ratings agency, which is created for Africa, will be launched in Mauritius, and says that this is a sign of progress in the continent's ambition to provide momentum for the reform of the international financial architecture. Now, these are the type of conversations that we have had and continue to have right here on Africa in Business. But let's get a clearer perspective on this prospective launch. And joining us for this is Kevin Chisanga, economist based in Zambia. Welcome. Good to have you with us.
Thank you so much. My pleasure, Ngubeni.
This is a topic that we've always spoken about when it comes to the African continent and debt, specifically coming from the West. But maybe let's speak about whether or not Africa is suffering from a genuine risk perception premium, where investors are demanding more money simply because these investments are in Africa.
Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. Yes, I would love to reiterate to say that the launch of the African Credit Rating Agency, together with, of course, the African Monetary Institute, will constitute a very significant position for Zambia and even Africa in totality. Obviously, we're talking at a point when we have actually been seeing that the whole entire world global economy is being in the position where we only have 3 rating companies or agents that basically place the risk factor across the regions. And these are not even in Africa. So having an African perspective sort of risk assessment gives an advantage to also place the risk of what is always overlooked. So in the case, it presents a credibility for Africa in terms of trying to put the risk in its own framework. Risky in a sense that it will also be able to work out a structure of how certain things can actually be able to be assessed as compared to the ego's high that we see with the international rating system. So this agents will be able to be typically involved into African fabric, meaning we should be able to see something that will be better in terms of how we assess the risk on how we assess the risk on capital requirement and many other aspects. So it's something that will be able to change the narrative for Africa.
So AfCRA or AfCRA, is it really about credit ratings, or is this part of a much bigger attempt by the continent to reshape the international financial architecture?
Yes, part of it, yes, because it's basically just opening up a new chapter in terms of financial architecture and also in terms of how the states affairs will be running from country to country, and how the African economies have actually been assessed. And also it also goes further into corporate companies in terms of how the risk factors should be able to be assessed. Because again, the whole scenario is that Africa has been perceived with a high premium in terms of risk factors. So with this indigenous, it's not just going to remove or compete with the rest of the agents that are in the rating capacity, but it's going to shape how we are going to add some innovation to the risky assessment framework, which will be able now to help the chain reaction around operation at government level and the continent level in terms of how the business and trade mechanics should be able to work out from there.
And maybe let's focus on the mechanics a little bit more this evening, Mr. Chisanga. How is AfCRA going to differ in its evaluation to the likes of Moody's, S&P, and Fitch? And will it also have the same gravitas and market integrity that the three major rating agencies that are existing have?
Okay, so as I hinted, it's not just going to complement what has been happening. It's also going to trigger into innovative and creative packages in terms of risk assessment models. The framework is just going to be a common universal framework which everyone else is using. But in the case, obviously, we know that it's going to be independent, it's going to have transparent, it's going to function technically with that vigorous aspect of appeal. But in the case, we will be able to see that there can also be some levels of innovative ideas that will be able to be indulged. So it's something that has also a scope to look at African perspective, because at the end of it all, these rating agents that shall be of indigenous African, it shall also have an appeal to the global market system, so that even the capital flow from emerging economies as well as advanced economies, there can be that strong convergence. So what we are seeing right now is a situation where it will complement to what has been happening in the market, but I think it will go much deeper to the African perspective.
What is going to be different about AfCRA, as you've highlighted, is not just the ownership, right? But as far as methodology is concerned and context, how is it going to push forward an Afrocentric perspective? What is it that AfCRA is going to be considering that the other three have not been?
Okay, so I mentioned to say that the other three are not operational in Africa, so even their risk assessment is perceived from a distance view. But with the case of an African rating agency, it has its imprint in the continent, meaning it will have actually has to go ground by ground in terms of trying to assess the risk and place it in an innovative way, which will also be able to have a different shape, because the good part with this one, it will also work with an African Monetary Institute, which will be headquartered in Nigeria. So with this perspective, we are creating a strong ambience for capital development and also trying to advance the risk management factors as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Kevin Chisanga. Really interesting times for the African continent. So the launch is set to be in October in Mauritius. Do we have dates yet?
It's looking forward to be either on the 5th or 6th. I'm yet to get the exact number, but the bottom line is that it's being championed by a Zambian in particular, by the name of Paul Sikazwe, if I'm not mistaken. He's the one who's actually a technical advisor on this. I can quickly get that information, but the bottom line here is that it's something that's going to change the narrative. Look, African countries have actually been swallowed in debt issues where the default risk factors have been misrepresented in a way. So with this one, it can also open up some of the domestic funding system, and much more also having a strong international linkage. And much to this also, we can also look at the trade system, where certain certification in terms of risk assessment can also be able to open up opportunities as well.
Mr. Kevin Chisanga, thank you so much for taking us through AfCRA. Certainly interesting times. Have yourself a splendid
My
evening.
pleasure.
Further.
Thank you.
Thank
Sure.
you, sir. That's Zambian economist Kevin Chisanga on the AfCRA, a continent-wide credit ratings agency to be launched in Mauritius on the 5th or the 6th of October. It's exactly 6:52.
The countdown is on. Join us for the 4th edition of the AfCRA Creator Festival on Saturday, the 5th of September, Africa's premier gathering of creators, brands, and industry leaders. Experience inspiring keynote speakers, masterclasses, networking, creator brand collaborations, proudly partnered with the SABC. Secure your